No love lost between the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning from the Gulf Coast. And should the NHL schedule less of these battles of Florida during the preseason? All this and more on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Friday, October 3rd edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MondoMan12. That is Nich Fairbanks here on another edition of Fairbanks Friday. You can follow him on X at Prudentia0. So shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning took the ice on Thursday night from Tampa, Florida, from Benchmark International Arena. Got to get used to saying that name as far as their new arena name, as the Florida Panthers lost by a final score of 5-2 in Tampa in a very physical battle. 186 total minutes of penalties between the two, mostly a regular lineup for the Florida Panthers. A few players were not playing for the Tampa Bay Lightning, in the example of Victor Hedman and Andrei Vasilevsky, who he will play on Saturday for the Tampa Bay Lightning. But the biggest takeaway for this one is how physical this one was and how much these teams flat out don't like each other, because I wouldn't say that they lost the plot in this one, Nick. I feel like that they were right on the plot, because this is the time to get it out of your system based on the bad blood that these two teams have had over the last few years, especially with how physical their previous playoff series was.
Most definitely. I mean, this was a great old-time hockey game for the first two periods. Am I right? Our chat was lit. We had a few people who don't really chime in. They were chiming in for sure, but it's the physicality, and it's what a lot of people love about the game: the fights, the skirmishes, everything. But sometimes it comes at a cost, and in preseason games, it's probably not the best idea, but this has been brewing for a few years now, like you said, and I think we're just getting to the tip of the iceberg right now, where it could go to another dimension, basically. And yes, I use the word dimension because there's no Alexander Barkov out there anymore. It's gonna be third line and fourth line, and the defense getting in on each other. And good on the Panthers for sticking up for themselves. And you can now tell that Tampa's not going to walk away and, try to get out of those type of situations.
Yeah, we saw a feisty Aaron Ekblad multiple times. AJ Greer getting involved with the physicality, as always. Jonah Gadjevich, Luke Cunnin, the new Panther. You saw him scratched up on his nose towards the end of the game. It's just like, welcome to the Florida Panthers, Luke Cunnin. And I mean, just based on watching his tape and knowing that he's just the perfect guy to fit in as a fourth line grinder for this Florida Panthers team, and then protect, and just how much the team was protecting each other. And yeah, there's no, I mean, yeah, you could point finger at one team or the other. I know that we're a Panther centric podcast, but yeah, it was started a good amount by both. I mean, there's Finley that was pinning Gustav Forsling to the boards after he cleared the puck and finished his check. There was the Yanni Gord fight with Cunnin, like Aaron Ekblad taking down Gage Gonzalez, as I mentioned. I mean, and it all started from the very first coincidental minors that we saw from the roughing, and guess who they went after? Brandon Hagel. And that was the if you had to pinpoint to the reason why, it all goes back to that hit when Alexander Barkov couldn't see Brandon Hagel coming, and then brewing from there.
Panthers are probably the best team at keeping receipts, and it does not matter how long it's been, Hagel is now a marked man, and he will continue to be a marked man because he's basically injured, or he's been a part of just about 2 injuries of major Panther players. Now, if you remember the Four Nations with Matthew Tkachuk, I mean, they both caused that, but still, Hagel was a part of it. And then you had the blatant hit on Barkov's blind side, which should not have happened. That's not a hockey play. But you have to wonder what Tampa was trying to do as far as like they were trying to get under Forsling's skin. Like, I don't think that's the right person to go after, to be honest. Like, he's like the most. I would probably say he's the second nicest guy in the world, next to Nick Lidstrom. Just a great human being, great defenseman, and just goes about his game quietly. And I don't get the extra animosity towards him. Maybe because Kucherov couldn't score in the last 2 playoff series, and guess who was on him? Forsling. So maybe he was just trying to get under their skin and send a message. But if these two teams end up in the playoffs again and play each other again, and Kachuk's part of it.
Oh, that's gonna be fun again.
Like I said, another dimension.
It's only building up the rivalry, but even before the brouhaha started getting a little worse, it really started at the 7-minute mark. The Panthers were really pinned in their own end, and I mean, it was the Daniil Tarasov show for the most part. I mean, you got to feel bad for Tarasov because he's facing a lot of shorthanded opportunities. Yeah, this is good practice for him, but I mean, he stole the show before it got physical with 186 penalty minutes, and I thought that he was pretty solid. I mean, yeah, it shows 5 goals against, but when 4 out of the 8 total goals are on special teams, I mean, there's only so much that a goaltender can do. But I mean, I thought that Daniil Tarasov, there was one where he lost his stick on in one play, and he made 2 saves, one on his side, and then one other with the blocker on Anthony Cirelli that he made. But that's at least from the beginning of the game, when it was before it got wild. I thought that Daniil Tarasov was looking very, very comfortable in the crease.
He's had 2 great games, and I'm not putting this game on him, although I think he needs to go find his blocker up in the stands after this one, because he was beat cleanly. By it's just, I think it's just one of those nights, and I think he's got the perfect mentor in Bobrovsky, because I think Bobrovsky had a blocker problem for a while, even when he was with Florida, and he's kind of honed it, and kind of grown into it where it's not a huge issue now. So hopefully they'll go back to the tape and be able to fix that. But we're starting to see the progression of what Tarasov is and what he can bring. I have mentioned a few times that I am excited about to see what his development's going to be. And I think if this is just a taste of what we've seen in the preseason, Panthers are going to be fine in the goaltending department this season.
Yeah, I really truly feel that they will be fine in that. And hey, one thing that I saw that Tarasov made as far as a Bobrovsky type of move is knowing when to let go of the stick, and that is by design, as like an extra way to block a shot, to get another part of your body a little high while that stick gets it low. So that's very strategic that Sergei Bobrovsky consistently does, and Daniil Tarasov is did that same move very early on in the game. But yeah, the Panthers, although it was they got the first goal of the game, and even the second goal the second goal of the second period, the Tampa Bay Lightning did respond by scoring 4 unanswered after that, and it resulted in a 5-2 win. But both of Florida's goals were on special teams, and that is going to give us an opportunity to transition over to segment number 2, where we are going to discuss the special teams that we saw. And yes, there was a lot of mixing and matching, but based on the units that we saw at the beginning of the game, we will discuss whether we think how well could certain guys fill in the certain spots for the injured players. We'll discuss that and more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and the NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And it makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little more something riding on the action. And the MLB wildcard round just wrapped up on Thursday as the Detroit Tigers, Chicago Cubs, and the New York Yankees have advanced to the division series. So baseball playoffs are in full swing. You got Florida State Seminoles versus Miami Hurricanes on Saturday. So FanDuel is the best place to go for all of your bets. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Once again, visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Segment 2 here on this Friday, October 3rd edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Friday. And just a little bit of an update on some of the health of the Panthers here. Sam Bennett, although he exited the game, Paul Maurice did say that he is fine in this one, but he did say that Anton Lundell will get looked at tomorrow. So unlikely that he will play, maybe unlikely that he'll play in Saturday's preseason finale against Tampa Bay. That's the thing, Nick. These two teams are going to be meeting again. They met in Orlando, but we saw what the difference was when you put a younger lineup in the mix that hasn't played each other in the postseason versus guys who are sick of each other. And my question to you, I know that this preseason games will go from 6 to 4 next year, but I'm starting to wonder whether the NHL should continue to schedule these two teams, especially this late into the preseason when you're going to see the regulars. And like we mentioned, these guys are going to get it out of their system. But there's a part of me that feels that the NHL also wants to build up the rivalry. So I don't think they're going to change it, but I question whether they should.
I mean, that's what sells, right? You get the ratings, you get the teams hating each other. It's like must-see TV. Florida hasn't really had like a rivalry. I mean, I think the closest thing they've had was probably Boston over the last couple of years, but that's over. And now you have Tampa that was the two-time Stanley Cup champs, and then eventually lost to the Avalanche. And now you have the Panthers, who now are the two-time. So if you're going to try and win the Stanley Cup, you got to beat who's the winner, who's Goliath right now. And, Tampa, unfortunately, is not Goliath. They're David right now. So getting back to your point about, scheduling these games, I would like them earlier, let the younger guys actually play and try to make a name for themselves and really show what they're all about. We know what the regulars feel and how they feel about each other. But at the same time, the NHL is doing its best right now it's ever done in its ratings and with its popularity. I mean, look at what the Panthers are valued at right now. You would have asked me a few years ago, that was not possible at all.
No way.
So, I mean, it's being marketed correctly, but when it comes to the health, I mean, my guy Lundell, I don't like to hear that, Maurice said he's going to get looked at, because that's a kind of, I'm not saying it's Barkov level, but he did say the same thing. He's like, "Oh, he's going to get looked at tomorrow." I don't like it.
Yeah, and I'm not going to speculate whatsoever when it comes to that. We'll just know on the updates, and we'll update you here on our social media channels here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, and we'll bring you the news on Monday when we do officially find out. But yeah, once again, a physical game. Brad Marchand not involved in the mix for this one, which was funny, but. And Carter Verhaeghe was the one going to the box for penalties he didn't commit. So I mean, he doesn't play PK minutes, so I kind of understand why he was placed in the box for those whenever there were a lot of those double minors for the Panthers there. But let's talk about the penalty kill and just who was out there and also the power play. So the expected unit for power play 1 for the Panthers is expected to be Ekblad, Jones, Sam Reinhart, Brad Marchand at the net front, and then Sam Bennett is looked to be filling the Barkov role. And just to recap, how kind of the Panthers kind of used Barkov on the power play is it's a mix of being at the circle and sometimes below, and then coming back to the point when Seth Jones would kind of shift a little bit to the left side of the ice, and then Ekblad would go to the goal line, if to move the puck there, and to make if Jones were to make those high to low plays there. So I mean, we're going to really truly see what Sam Bennett is truly made of whenever it comes to threading the needle, especially when it comes to those feeds to Sam Reinhart. And the Brad Marchand, he created an outstanding screen that got the goal from Seth Jones to the point.
Mm-hmm.
But can he play make from behind the net, or even if it's Sam Bennett doing a switcheroo there, can they play make the way Matthew Tkachuk did on the power play to Sam Reinhart in that bumper position? So that is also going to be an interesting thing that I'm hoping to see from the power play.
So I feel like I'm in a box with this because Sam Bennett's not known for his passing. He proved that he was a goal scorer all through the playoffs last year, won the Conn Smythe Trophy, and he's going to look to be a shoot first guy. Now you're asking him to kind of take over the Barkov spot where he's got to protect the puck and be able to get the puck down low or get it into the slot. I don't have a problem with him getting it from down low to the slot. I have it more or less when it's going to be probably just to the slot from the sideboards or from the circle, because it's not an easy pass and you have to put it on the tape. And most of the time it's going to be a two-touch one to kind of get it, settled, or at least where you want it. And then the next one's going to be a shot. I don't know how precise he's going to be, but we're going to see the evolution, hopefully, of him being able to do that and not just want to think shoot first. But again, on the other side, how many times have we talked about our power play not being, they're being too passive and they're not shooting enough? And, the second power play unit with Bennett comes on and they're shooting away and they get some chances. So it's going to be interesting to me how he wants to go about the business and how they're going to go about the different units. But I would probably say give Bennett the benefit of the doubt and what he's going to do. And then after that, if he's not working very well, then just let him shoot.
Yeah, and with Barkov being a left-handed shot and Bennett also being one thing that Barkov did so well while he was working that power play unit was whenever the puck would rim around from the corner going towards the half wall, Barkov was always was mostly very quick on just getting and chipping it back and battling out in the corner and hopefully getting those defensemen out of position, which would probably help also Sam Reinhart to create a little bit of support going from one on the near side corner, if that is the case as well. And also maybe that helps kind of Seth Jones like creep up a little bit not necessarily in the low slot, but kind of like the mid slot. And the fact that Aaron Ekblad could also protect the blue line a little bit more, if that is the case, we're going to really truly see how quick Sam Bennett could also chip it back, and there could be those board battles and maybe having those second or third opportunities.
Definitely. But I guess time is going to tell with both of that. So what I am looking forward to as well on the power play, if I could just change just a little bit, is I want to see what the second power play unit's going to look like. If they're going to have, if Lundell's happy or healthy, sorry, I'll be happy if he's healthy. And then you have Samoskevich, and you're probably going to have Verhaeghe. So you're going to have a second unit that's going to have some prime shooting. So to me, I think that really is going to help out the first unit, where they can do what they need to do, battle the pucks, win those battles, and then hopefully get a shot from the point. And Marchand's just standing there for a tap in, or maybe just goes off his jersey and, goes in the back of the net. But again, time's going to tell.
Yeah, that second unit is Petrie, Verhaeghe, Lundell, Evan Rodriguez, and Mackie Samoskevich. That's the unit that they mostly put tonight before everything got out of hand for the Panthers. So lots of shooters, and probably the Lundell is the one least of those guys who are shooters of the puck. So key is the draw and to protect the walls for Anton Lundell there. But let's go to the PK. Luke Cunnin was mostly paired with Eetu Luostarinen, and sometimes we saw so before Lundell came out of the game. Obviously, he's with Brad Marchand and Sam Reinhart. Obviously, he's gonna be having a different partner this year. But based on Luke Cunnin and being on that PK unit for the Panthers, I mean, how he was able to get those sticks and lanes. Eetu Luostarinen, I didn't even talk about his 5-on-5 play tonight. I thought he was like those spinorama moves that he was making. There was one chance that he created to Brad Marchand that was stopped by I forget the Tampa Bay Lightning goalie's name, Hellerson, I believe. But that's besides the point. But Eetu was playmaking, and yeah, he won the race to the puck and scored shorthanded. We've seen that in Tampa Bay before. He actually did that last December. But I'm interested to also see that unit between Luke Cunnin and Eetu Luostarinen. And Jesper Boquist is also going to get some time as he did last season. So Panthers have a lot of options there, which gives me confidence that at least although Barkov, you can't replace him there, I think the special teams is not going to be in as bad as a place as I originally thought.
The PK might not be in such a bad place. I mean, if they're still scoring shorthanded goals in the preseason like E2 did, I don't think it's going to be an issue. My big thing is, again, you're not going to be able to fill Barkov's spot at all.
Yeah.
So it's going to be by committee. So you have Cunnin that came in and he's done a wonderful job. Are you going to put a Sam Bennett in a rotation like that? I know Reinhardt's going to be out there, but who else are they going to put to kill penalties? Is Rodriguez going to be out there eventually? So everybody's going to have to do it, unfortunately. And if that's going to be the case and the team can just really pull together and they start getting something going, PK is going to be just fine. And I think the defense, if they clear the pucks and they don't allow Bobrovsky or Tarasov to be screened, will be all right.
Yeah, no doubt. Which that is going to be the big question mark, and we will see how those both of those units come about whenever Paul Maurice does put those them together, and it's all going to start on opening night. But the Panthers do have one more preseason game against the Tampa Bay Lightning on Saturday night from Amerant Bank Arena, and there's still some more decisions to make for the Cats right before Monday. So we are going to discuss and continue the discussion on the roster decisions for the Panthers and what is to come. We're going to do that all next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Segment 3 here on this Friday, October 3rd edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Friday. Armando Velez here with Nich Fairbanks on another edition of Fairbanks Friday. So the three players who were placed on waivers for the Panthers, Mackenzie Entwistle, Wilmer Skoog, and Nolan Foote, they all cleared. So like I mentioned with Andre Vasilevsky not playing tonight, they claimed Phoenix Copley, a former goalie from the LA Kings and Philadelphia Flyers, off of waivers for some goalie insurance because his start of the season might be in jeopardy. So something to look out for the state rivals. But the 29 players, they also include the injured players of Barkov, Nosek, and Matthew Tkachuk. So the Panthers can put a roster of 23 players, so they really only have a decision to cut 3 of them right now for them. So not a lot is left. And these moves for the Panthers have been honestly very predictable, if we're being honest. I mean, yeah, I watch every single game. I hear what the coaches say. So maybe that's just me. But there's also the process of guys who have been here before, what their contract status is. And here's the thing, Tobias Bjornfoot, he's been with the team for a while. He's likely going to be one of those guys on waivers come next week. And there's the decision for 2 out of the 3 forwards. You can take 2 out of the 3 from Jack Stanicka, Tyler Mott, and Noah Gregor. So you have to cut 1. But Brandon Bussey is the interesting one because he's not waivers exempt. And every year during training camp, you have to be very strategic when you put the goalie on waivers because you're not making your roster cuts just yet. Yes, you have to submit your 23-man roster before you claim guys off of waivers and then you send them down. So the Panthers don't really have those non-waivers exempt guys on currently here. So whatever their cut they're gonna make, they're gonna that is likely going to be solidified, and they're likely not going to be active on the waiver wire. So Bjornfoot, Bussy are likely the ones that are a shoe-in, at least to be those cuts. But the timing is going to be interesting, probably on a late Sunday night or Monday kind of cut for the Panthers. But as far as the other guys on that they have left, one of these guys is going to be gone, Stanika, Mott, or Gregor. And I think chances are, I think that Noah Gregor is likely the least likely, in my opinion, that is going to be with the Florida Panthers. What says you, Nick?
So I think Studnick has done enough to stick with the team, at least for a short period of time, to fill in. I also believe that Tyler Mott brings that veteran presence. He's been everywhere. I think he was with Detroit last. Didn't really have a great, tenure with them, but that's fine. People come to Florida and they rejuvenate their careers. Gregor seemed like he was getting a spot. He was doing everything right. But at the end of the day, you got to think about what's best for the team, and you got to be, as you said, strategic. So I'm with you. I wouldn't be surprised if those names actually do get waived, but at the same time, you don't want to lose talent, like Bussy, Panthers took him for a reason, and they are just making sure that number one, Bob's protected. Something happens to Tarasov, they have a plan there. So it sucks, to be honest, when you're cut, but it doesn't mean it's over. You can go down, you could sign a contract and be a two-way, and we'll see what happens.
Yes, the Nika is the only one of the three who are actually on have a contract with the Panthers. Well, Mott and Gregor are the ones on PTOs, and they could also go the avenue of taking the guys off the signing them to contracts on from their PTOs at the very league minimum at $775K, and then Stanika, because he's under contract, is like, okay, put him on waivers there. But what Stanika brings, which by the way, Sam Stanika, Jack's brother, actually played with Aaron Ekblad when they were growing up over in Ontario. So there is actually a little bit of a connection that Aaron Ekblad and Jack Stanika do have in a way that he played with his brother. So that's going to be the interesting as far as the logistics part of all of this. So versus who you sign on the PTO. Noah Gregor has a good amount of speed. But I don't think he is as physical as what Jack Stanika brings. I mean, I saw a lot of net front for Jack Stanika, and that's like the bread and butter for the Florida Panthers. Tyler Mott, center depth. That's what's really that's what the Panthers need. So I feel like for Tyler Mott, it's a position of need. It comes more of that versus what Noah Gregor is as a winger. Yeah, Jack Stanika is also a winger as well. So I think that positionally, that's why Tyler Mott has a little bit of a leg up.
I mean, to be honest, if Barkov wasn't hurt, I don't see Mott making it. But, beggars can't, be choosers right now. And this is not me talking bad about Mott at all. It's just it's the position that the Panthers are in. It's the position that happens when you win. You have roster turnover, even though they had the least amount that I've seen from a cup winner. But things are always in transition. Things are always changing. So you have to be able to adapt. And who better than this management team to do that and find people that will fit into the system, like Studnicka and now Tyler Mott, that will be able to still play Panther hockey and still be effective.
And looking back at Jack Stanicka's elite prospects, he can shift to center if need be. So he can play that position. So that's why also he has a little bit of a leg up, even though he plays mostly on the wing. And Training camp from now on is, especially with the Mikula extension and the fact that there's just gonna be one different partner for Dmitry Kulikov every single year, and it's just gonna be an interchanging of the fourth line every single year from the next few years out. Yeah, there's still the conversation on whether Sergei Bobrovsky is gonna extend, what's gonna happen with Daniil Tarasov after this year. There's not going to be a lot of training camp battles to really talk about too much, assuming that they're healthy in come future years. So let's have fun while we're here and just enjoy the process, because a week from tonight, Nick, you and I will be breaking down an actual hockey game. We'll breaking down the second game of the season between the Florida Panthers and the Philadelphia Flyers come next Thursday. So I can't wait till we have another podcast where we are actually talking about the regular season. But I want to thank you once again for coming on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast on another successful Fairbanks Friday. Tell everybody where they can follow you online, my friend.
As always, Armando, thanks for having me on. Everybody, you guys can follow me on X at Prudentia0. The time is almost here. We have 4 days left until the season opener. Let's make it a good one, please.
Yes. And ring night is Monday night. So it's gonna be once again another fun celebration of those back-to-back Stanley Cup championships. And no hurricane coming, at least knock on wood, at least, to disrupt the ring ceremony. So hopefully when the Panthers announce it, it'll be a public celebration with the fans for ring night on Monday night. So Nick, thank you so much as always, and see you next week.
See you next week.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Steel Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Nich Fairbanks. And you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.